Let's head to the Uncommon Grounds Coffee House in Saratoga Springs, New York, where the conversation is just as hot as the coffee. Leading the discussion is Keep It Green's very own environmental journalist, Dale Willman. Let's listen in.
So wolves, they're talking about reintroducing them into the Adirondacks Park, and it's an issue across the northern tier of the United States. People say that we need that level of predator in the park, but people are concerned about their livestock, and they're concerned about their pets being eaten. So why do we need wolves there to begin with?
Well, I think that really it's part of the ecosystem that was always in the Adirondacks, and we've killed off about 150 years ago. The coyote population, while it has grown to be bigger and the animals themselves a little stronger, I still am skeptical that they're going to be able to take down, for example, a moose. It's really part of the whole web of life in the park, and we really would like to see it restored.
I think it's an exciting thing that wolves might come back, but I think that the argument might best be made that from a realistic perspective, wolves really will kill livestock, and they really will kill people's pets. I've spoken with people in my research who've been victims in their minds of exactly those kinds of predations. So that's part of the reality of it.
Many different sides to this story, this question, this problem. One of the things that interests me is, do we need to repopulate? In Shelburne, Massachusetts, just a year or two ago, they actually found a wolf, which was killed, I believe. And when they looked at it, it turned out to be a gray wolf. And I mean, this is a rather rural area of western Massachusetts.
And this wasn't a reintroduced wolf.
This was
one that
arguably, they believe that it came down from Quebec. So there seems to be a migration coming through Maine and New Hampshire. Do we need to repopulate the Adirondack Park, or is it going to happen by itself?
Exactly. I think that's part of the question. And the last wolf killed in New York State was killed in the town of Day, inside Adirondack Park in the year 2000. And it was a confirmed wolf. So that's part of the fascinating tension that we saw in Yellowstone Park, right? Between the sort of pure notion of wolves coming down on their own versus wolves being flown in by helicopter and pinned up for a couple of months to get used to the area and then finally released. And so it's I think a tough question ecologically in a place like Yellowstone, because the elk population was growing immensely, that kind of thing.
Well, why is that an issue? The elk population is growing because there are no predators to keep them in check? Is that the issue?
The nice thing about the Adirondacks is it's so much bigger than Yellowstone. I mean, most people don't recognize the fact that you could fit about 8 Yellowstones into the Adirondacks and still have some room left over. In fact, there's a section in the western part of the park, about half the size of the state of Rhode Island, that has no roads in it whatsoever. So there are no houses, no people, no traffic. We think that's an ideal place to try a reintroduction of wolves. This might be a real opportunity for the state to take a look at whether this is feasible on a larger scale.
Well, I guess the question is, how do you accommodate this? And I think there have been some efforts out west, in fact, to do so. There are organizations, aren't there, that are actually paying farmers for lost livestock and for perhaps pets that are being lost. So is there a way to accommodate the desire to reintroduce and the problems faced by those kind of economic losses?
Well, one of the fascinating things that happened out west is some ranchers were so angry that they refused those monies. They were so angry about wolves being around. And I think at root of it was they didn't want to seem in any way, shape, or form in favor of wolf reintroduction.
There's so much misunderstanding about the wolf, from Red Riding Hood to the stories of the German Black Forest, of people being eaten by wolves. And we've never seen a wolf attack in the United States. I don't expect we will after the reintroductions are made. Even out west, I don't think we've seen a real conflict with human beings other than family pets and livestock being attacked. That's understandably going to be a problem for people, but I think that ultimately the wolves deserve a chance to survive too.
So it sounds like what we really need to do is take it away from the storybook realm and the little Red Riding Hood and really look at the science and what that tells us about all this.
I think you're right. That's really the only way that we're ever going to see the wolf return to the most densely populated part of the United States. And this is a conversation I think that maybe our kids will be having too, but I can't wait till we get around to cougars perhaps, because that's an animal that used to exist in the Adirondacks, and it does have a little trouble living next to people. And that's something we have to put into the conversation when the time comes. So.
It's a great idea, but maybe next week we can talk about that.
Sounds good.
Thanks, guys.